saw this one comment from Top 1 Don Glazer, which reads, "React to Canto VII Boss 4 battle theme now!" And I suppose that's exactly what I'll be doing. My name is Corey, for Everything Fantasy. I'm a music composer for video games, and I'll be analysing another Limbus Company track today. I have my keyboard in front of me. I've also been doing a lot of JRPG remixes of Limbus Company tracks, and I think I might do more, so if you have any suggestions of that too, let me know in the comments. But before that, let's get into this analysis. This is what I'm talking about. Okay. We got a serious piece now on our hands. We've got something that's going to be very, very complex, I imagine. Already, a few different elements going on. Vocals, acoustic guitar, cinematic percussion. There's probably strings buried in there somewhere. I'm like 4 seconds in. It's hard to tell. In terms of the key, we are in E minor. What is going on? Okay. I don't do this very often, but I think I'm gonna have to go back a little bit. Like, that was a lot to take in. Okay. We already have some chromaticism, some tension. We have quite a broken up intro segment with a lot of kind of muffled, I feel like reversed vocals happening at the same time, with unreversed vocals too. This just feels like absolute chaos so far. Absolute chaos. Like, the only thing that's grounding it to me so far is the fact that I can quite definitively identify the key signature. Besides that, whatever this boss is, all hell is breaking loose, I'm imagining. Okay, before we go into another section, so I think we've changed time signature as well. We have the 3/4 dun 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 dun. And then we had a phrase something like, it almost feels somewhat like the kind of dramatic finale of an opera, in a sense. I don't know what's happening on screen here, but this is, whatever this is chaos. It's absolute craziness. I'm guessing here. Like, I'm imagining like reverberation ensemble level chaos or something like that. I know that's a Library of Ruina reference, but that's the best thing I can kind of like draw a parallel between, I think. Just epic orchestral, but really distorted at the same time. Not distorted in terms of the audio effect, but it's distorted in terms of it just being absolutely twisted. The elements of the acoustic guitar, I think, are really interesting too. I feel like that acoustic guitar has to speak somewhat to a particular character, theme, or an idea. It feels like, because it feels random, but it's sort of like a, you know when a massive coincidence happens in real life, and you think to yourself, like, how could these two things happen at the same time? But you also know that actually there's a bit of an explanation behind it. That's kind of what I'm getting here, where it feels like a random choice. Like, why do we have this acoustic guitar all of a sudden? But at the same time, this feels incredibly deliberate. So deliberate that I think it's referencing something. There might be a leitmotif in there somewhere or something like that. I'd be interested to hear why use an acoustic guitar here. Because it doesn't feel like there should be an acoustic guitar. It works, but it feels very deliberate. We have almost like a marching band style rhythm. I do this thing where I upgrade my templates that I use to kind of like load these sounds and everything so I can switch between sounds live really quickly. And there's always like, whenever I'm analyzing something new, there's always a sound I wish I had loaded that I don't. This is kind of one of those occasions where I kind of need that sort of marching band. The closest I have is a drum kit. So we have the marching kind of band kind of styled drum kit happening. We have the choir that's just doing all sorts of craziness, kind of like almost doing a bit of a call and response back and forth. We have the acoustic guitar still that's doing things like da 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 da. I think I heard elements of brass too, and definitely strings too at the same time, I think. To me, that's one of the few times so far that I think the choir is singing almost like a very deliberate 8-bar of something that kind of builds on it in itself, if that makes sense. Something like a... That kind of phrase, which kind of gradually gets more kind of complex. It almost feels like a bit of a question and answer type thing going on at the same time. There definitely is a lot of orchestral elements that I've missed out as well that are happening too. This just kind of feels like, let's throw everything on the table. Like, I'm imagining in-game, this is quite a significant battle, like, where you're probably going to throw in your best tools, essentially, to win this. That's what I'm imagining from the chaos of this. But this is one where I feel like the more context I can get for this, the better, in a sense. So don't hesitate to comment. Maybe try and avoid some spoilers if you can, but I'd love to know a bit more. Whoa, that's the Leviathan motif. That's the Leviathan motif. It's changed slightly. That's really cool. I know that because when I did my If Limbus Company Was a JRPG remix, there were a few people commenting saying I should have included the Leviathan motif. So when I did my Through Patches of Violet in the style of a JRPG battle theme, I did my research. Like, I literally contacted people who have played so much more of Limbus Company than I have, trying to understand this Leviathan motif, and they're very helpful. And so in that remix, the Leviathan motif does feature. So I recognize it now. That's really cool. That is actually really cool. Okay, I'm going to go back to it because I want to almost identify how it's changed this time, because it's not the same as it normally is. It's changed slightly. It's that bit is the bit that has been manipulated to suit this particular piece. Because it didn't need to do that. It could have just done the traditional Leviathan motif. But I think it's changed to fit the chaos of this particular track. That's really cool. And they kind of like evolve it to almost fit that entire phrase. So the entire phrase sounds something like this. Reminds me of exactly what I did with the small change of in the remix that I did most recently. So we're about to head into another section, I imagine, but I love the ascending phrase from the bass line. That A flat is outside of the key that we're in, which is E minor, but it just adds some really nice contrast. Like, compare these two things. Versus... it just creates an extra level of chaos. I think that sounds really, really nice. Okay, we have that. Okay, I heard some bass drums there, maybe contradicting what I'm about to say, but it feels like we're going into that kind of calmer. Let's take a step back for a second before we go even more chaotic for the finale. But the thing I really like about this is how different elements interplay really nicely. I almost get the sensation that this is taking different pieces, different parts of former pieces, maybe something like that. I just hear so many different chaotic motifs that it feels so deliberate. Like, it doesn't feel like these are just random phrases that are suddenly being pieced together. This feels like this is a really deliberate construction of madness, in a sense. We have the acoustic guitar that's it's just doing really fun acoustic guitar stuff in the background, to put it that way, in all honesty. There's another Limbus track I've analysed, which is a lot like this in style. The kind of very kind of flamenco-style acoustic guitar parts. That are just kind of riffing throughout the entire thing. We have the choir that feels like it's providing most of the melodic substance across the entire thing. The sort of da 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 da, all of that stuff. We have the bass that's providing the kind of the hammer, the weight, the heaviness that's helping to provide something to latch onto. And then we have the rest of the orchestra that's kind of like filling in the gaps, so to speak. And the percussion is just so powerful throughout the entire thing. We had a key change. I'm curious if it's going to enter a new section, which is completely different from anything we've heard before, or if it's going to repeat a previous section, but maybe a bit more elevated, or something like that, and in a different key now as well. We have that change in the key from the E minor to an F. Like, if it couldn't get more chaotic, let's elevate it even a step more by changing the key too. We actually changed key again. We changed to a C minor. Oh, it's absolute madness. But this time brass has taken over in terms of the melody, doing something like this. You can hear just how on its own it kind of feels like it's providing so much to kind of like latch onto, almost like the heavy hitting thing besides the cinematic percussion at the same time. It loves those phrases where it adds one chromatic note. It almost sounds quite heroic to me, in a sense. Largely because of those brass lines that kind of provide that almost superhero feel, in a sense. And the kind of the rising, ascending bass lines as well. Da, 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 da. It's going up. We're being uplifted on some level. At least that's what the impression that I'm getting from this, but it is ultimately a boss battle. Like, anything could be going on right now. Like, I'd almost hate the idea of spending 40 minutes on this battle only to then lose. It's striking me as one of those types of tracks, which is very, very reminiscent for me and almost brings back nightmares from Library of Ruina personally. Oh my god. Oh my god, what did I just hear? That ending phrase reminded me of Sephiroth's theme, actually. Da 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 Sephiroth. That bit. It sounded something like this. Oh, that was powerful. Like, I can't imagine this looping. And I know it probably does. It's the boss battle theme. It has to. But I almost feel like at that climax, like, I want to be done with this. Like, I feel like to hear that over and over again, it almost mocks you in a sense of how powerful it is. This has got to be some kind of finale or climax. Surely it has to be. What an absolute... This is mayhem. Top 1 Don Glazer. Like, I have to give you props for recommending that. And someone else probably has at some point too that I just didn't see at that time. But that was really cool. Like, I almost feel like this is worthy of like an analysis in and of itself. There's so much to dissect here. For any music theory geeks out there like myself, there's a lot to get stuck into there. To sit down and compose something like a masterpiece like that, I'm lost for words. That was an incredible piece to react to, so thanks for the suggestion and keep them coming. I'd love to hear more of your favourite pieces from Limbus Company, or any game for that matter. I release reaction videos once, sometimes twice a week, and also remixes on a Sunday, so check out those when they come out. Until next time, thanks for watching, take care my friends,